Hey everybody, it's JT Stewart. Welcome to Selling, Negotiating, and Winning. And in this course, we are going to learn how to obviously sell, negotiate, and when you do that, you win. And I want to define the difference between selling and negotiating. They're very much akin, but until you have a product to sell, until you have a object that you're selling, you don't really have the position to negotiate yet. So selling is very much the starting step to negotiating. Selling, my line is selling. Nothing happens in business without it. Until there's an exchange of product or service to money, there's really no reason to have anything going on because you're not really selling anything. So keep that in mind. Selling is the first step to negotiating. Once you start the selling process, the negotiation process will start after that. So don't get confused on which comes first. It's always selling, and then you negotiate the price, the fee, the terms, etc. Okay? So what you're going to learn in selling, negotiating, and winning, and we'll do about 7 classes, is you're going to learn how to present your product or your service. Because if you're selling something, you need to learn how to present that product or service. Say if you're selling a house, you need to learn how to present that house, how to stage that house, how to put that house on the market properly so that it'll attract buyers. And then the negotiation process starts. So you're going to learn how to present your product or service. And we're also going to learn some tricks of the trade. How to use body language and tonalities to actually get the buyer or your opponent, in this case, to lean into you and buy into what you're saying and doing so that they buy your position and ultimately buy your position and you strike a deal. Okay, so how to use your body language. We're going to learn things like, how to lean in. When people are leaning into you, they're listening. They're maybe cocking one ear to you. So there are little tricks of the trade. I used to have a business partner that did this all the time. Every meeting was this. It was apex. What's that really mean? When you're apexing somebody like that, it means that they think they are in higher authority than you. So we're going to learn how to use some of these tricks and trades of body language to lead you to a better outcome when you're negotiating. We're going to talk about negotiating strategies to win. Sometimes you have to look at the position and decide what you really, really want. And sometimes you have to give things up in order to get things you want. That's win-win negotiating. That's how it's really done. You don't want to negotiate where you just obliterate your opponent and steal stuff from them. You want to be able to use gambits to give to them in a way that they feel like they're getting something, but you're also getting what you want. And that is what ultimately we want to do. You can use negotiating in everyday life, and we're going to talk about that. A perfect example of that is using negotiating in everyday life. It doesn't have to be a $1 million deal to negotiate. You can negotiate in everyday life, and here's an example. The other day I paid my phone bill, my cell phone bill. And I called, and I always pay it when I call them. I never pay it online. I never mail the payment or anything like that. I called her, and she answered the phone. The lady at the other end of the phone asked me all these questions. I paid my bill, and while I was paying my bill, which was about 5 days past due, I just happened to pay it 5 days past due. So my other bill, my upcoming bill, was due, and I could have paid that. So in the conversation, I said, I've been a great customer for all these years, and I've stuck with you for 25, 30 years. What can you do for me on my bill? And she said, well, let me see what I can do. I just asked to see what she would do. She said, let me see what I can do. So she got in the computer. My payment went through, is all good. And then she said, well, I can give you $60 off of your next year bill that's going to be due here in a little while. I said, that's awesome. The bill was only like $79. So she actually gave me $69 off, so I had a $10 bill coming due. So I thanked her, we got off the phone, all that just by asking a question. I just asked the question and then let her take control, and she said, I can give you a credit. That's awesome. So my bill now went from $79 to $10. So that's great. They get off the phone, and then I realized, oh, wait a minute, I didn't get a verification of that. So I called back, and of course when you call back, it's a different number in a different state. And I asked the lady, did she give me a credit? She said, yes, she has it marked right here that she gave you a credit. I said, can you give me verification of that? She said, yes. And then she said, well, let me see what else I can do. I didn't even ask. And she said, let me see what else I can do. She came back and she said, I can give you a $20 credit. I went from owing $79 to they owed me like $10 or $15. So everyday negotiating is really, really great because you can capture money. That's money I didn't have to pay. I had an old buddy of mine named Juan Varnell, great concert promoter, and I tooled under him for a while, and he said, it's easier to save money than it is to make money, and you don't have to pay any taxes on it. What a great saying, and I've used that all my life. So you don't get what you don't ask for. If you don't ask for it, you'll never get it. So don't be afraid to ask for it because you think it's too little, too trivia. I mean, think about it. I was on the phone maybe 10 minutes and I made almost $80. Who makes $80 a minute? You do when you negotiate properly. So I also want to talk about the mind, the body, and the soul, which are all key components in negotiating. The body. How do we use our body for body language? What does this mean? It means I'm bored. What does this mean? I'm superior. What does this mean when I lean in and cock my head and lower my voice and say, you can do this? All of these things mean something. Your body is a tool that most people don't know how to use and won't use because they think it's fake. It's not fake. If you're not here to sell somebody, to negotiate, to win, then you might as well go work putting a widget on top of a nut and a bolt, because these are all ways to influence people, and that's really what we're doing. So the body, how to use body language to convey your position. How do you use body language to really get to the crux of the matter? And how do you use body language to convince somebody that your position is superior? That's what we're going to learn in this class. The mind. The mind is so important when you're negotiating. You have all these positions to think of. What are they going to ask for? What do we want to ask for? You have to stay totally engaged with your mind, okay? So your mind is important. The whole time you're doing the process, you have to be thinking, what do I want? Maybe they say something and it allows you to think, well, wait a minute, I want a different position now. Your mind always has to be thinking when you're negotiating. The third thing, the mind, the body, and the soul. What in the world has the soul got to do with negotiating? Because you have to believe in your position. If you don't believe in your position when you're negotiating, you'll end up not getting what you want, not getting what's available to you, and not winning. You have to believe in your position. So, selling, negotiating, and winning, don't ever forget that you deserve to win. Do not doubt yourself. Stay tuned for more classes on selling, negotiating, and winning.